This is how the brainwashing comes into play. I am taking up for my abusive husband who has just abused my child. And this cop, she ain't accepting what I'm putting down. She reaches over and she puts both hands on my arms and she grabs me and she looks me directly in the eyes. And she goes, in all my years of being a cop, I have seen this play out over and over again. If you do not make a move to protect yourself and your children, something is happening to you. You will not survive this. If you've ever been stuck in a long-term abusive relationship and finally left, finally found the strength to leave, there's a point in your journey where there's a straw that breaks the camel's back. There's a point in your journey where the bubble of perception bursts and you're able to finally move forward. There's a point where everything comes into focus and that veil is lifted and you can finally see the reality for what it is and make the choices that you need to make in order to leave and protect yourself and your children. Now, for me, this point in my journey comes almost 15 years into our marriage. I stayed in my abusive marriage with my alcoholic husband for 15 years. It took 15 years for me to get to the point where I could finally see what I had been refusing to see. And I'm going to tell you the story of how that happened. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Elizabeth, and this is From Hell to Healed. This is a digital memoir. This is my testimony. This is my story of surviving a long-term abusive marriage with a high-functioning alcoholic who eventually passed away due to this disease. And now I am hoping to use our story and the trauma that I faced and the healing that I have been able to accomplish in order to help other people who might be stuck in this situation. If you're here from the previous episodes, welcome. It's a story. There's a lot. And, we've been kind of deep diving into what it looks like to struggle behind closed doors in a perfectly, curated Instagram-worthy marriage that on social media and to outsiders might look like it's a great relationship, but behind closed doors, we're struggling. Now, my family at this point, I'm alienated from my family and friends. I'm alienated from my support system. And there's a lot of judgment and criticism that I received when I finally did leave, when I finally got the strength to leave. In my mind, I expected that there was going to be support with that and that my family would be like, oh, thank God. We're so proud of you for making that choice. And I soon found out that I was met with a whole lot of criticism because they're angry at me for how long I stayed. And this is fair. I'm not upset about that. It's very easy to judge and criticize a person for staying in a relationship like this. I've done that with friends of mine, who kept running back to that abusive boyfriend. I've been on the other side of that. And so I understand where that criticism comes into place. I talk about it a lot on this channel because it was a big eye-opener for me to really see that I needed to do this alone. And I needed to manage, and I needed to come to the realization I needed to come to these decisions on my own time. When you're dealing with someone, when you're watching someone from the outside who's struggling in an abusive relationship and they're being abused, what's going on. It's almost impossible to not see it when you're close to them. And they keep going back to it and they refuse to make the decisions that they need to make to protect themselves. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating to watch a family member devolve into that abusive cycle. And in my situation, we're now 15 years into this marriage. I had left him once before We got married in 2007. By 2015, the addiction was in full-blown abusive mode, and I left him. But he got sober. He went into rehab immediately, and I took him back. And when I took him back, I quickly found out when the abuse started ramping up again that I was stuck. He wasn't going to let me leave. For survivors of these abusive relationships, when we're struggling behind closed doors, we want to leave. We know that we need to leave, but we can't. We're rooted in that fear. We know that if we leave, that they're going to make it incredibly difficult for us. And he was very, very clear that you left me once, I'm not going to allow you to leave me again. You'll never embarrass me like that again. And if you do try to leave me, I will take those kids. You'll never see them again. And so I'm rooted in staying in this long-term relationship because of the fear of losing access to my children. And you might be thinking, oh, that's not going to happen. Hold my beer. Okay. As women and survivors of narcissistic abuse, when we are with a high-functioning, high-value head of the household, he made $200,000 a year. He was best friends with the chief of police. He rubbed elbows with judges, lawyers, cops. He could easily make a phone call to put in a favor. I wasn't working at this time. At this point in our relationship, the abuse was so bad and our relationship was so toxic that it has making me very, very sick. And it's hard for me to leave. And when you are stuck in that situation where you are dependent on their insurance, they control everything. They control the finances, they control the medical, they control your entire life, they control your entire autonomy. Leaving is a very difficult thing to do. It requires a very specific lawyer. It requires a fully on-board support system, and it requires a regulated nervous system. None of those I had. Now, in the last episode, I went through how he got in a very serious accident and it almost took his life. He was riding his bike to the bar at night in order to take his shots so that he could go to sleep. And on his way home, he was riding at night without a helmet, talking on the phone. He has an accident and he gets a hairline fracture in his neck and his back, and he's in a medical coma for 2 weeks. Now, the surgery that he was scheduled for wasn't problematic. Had he been healthy, he would have been able to go through this and fly through it without really issue. But he was in the late stages of this addiction, and those withdrawals came into play and created a firestorm. And so when they put him under for the surgery, they couldn't bring him back up. And his body started to deteriorate. His lung capacity went to 40%. He got pneumonia. There was a blood clot sitting right on top of his heart, threatening to take him out at any time. And every single day that I went to that hospital, I'm now faced with these doctors who are very, very vocal. They are shoving resources into my face. They're being very vocal about what this addiction is and what it does. And this is when I'm finding out that alcohol withdrawals are just as deadly at this stage as the addiction itself. They had a guy a week prior who was in withdrawal for 13 days and didn't make it. And so the doctors are being very, very honest and upfront on what this means for us. And if he doesn't come out of that coma by 2 weeks, we need to make decisions. And on the very last hour, at the end of that 2 weeks, he wakes up and he recovers, and we take him home, and he's sober. And he's sober for a good 5 months. And during this 5 months of sobriety, he is on fire. I got my man back. We're not fighting. There's no abuse. He's working his job. He's doing fantastic. I'm now trying to really focus on my health and getting my medical issues under control so that I can bring in an income. So I open a little bakery out of our house and start processing sugar-free, gluten-free baked goods to the community. And it takes off. I'm doing 40, 50 orders a week. I'm busy and I'm working all day in the kitchen and going on deliveries at night and then coming home and cleaning the kitchen. He's working from home and, killing it at his job. He gets promoted during this time and gets another raise. And things are going like we think this is fantastic. He has used his near-death experience as a spiritual awakening. He's telling me I know what my purpose is. I'm meant to get sober. I'm meant to break that cycle. I want to write a book. I want to get on a stage. I want to get on YouTube. I want to reach these addicts. I want to tell these people who are suffering this addiction that they can do it, that they can get through it. And I want to be an advocate to help people get through their addiction. He has really, I've never seen him so sure of himself, so confident, and operate at this high level. And it's beautiful to see. But with addiction like this, there's always a trigger. And this is 2020, COVID hits. For him, grief is what always brings him back down to the bottle. And he lost someone in his circle to COVID. And that sent him back down to drinking. And within 5 months, by the summer of 2020, I knew that he was drinking again. Except now, after 5 months of sobriety, that relapse, he is now combining the drinking with a medication that he got in the hospital called trazodone. And the trazodone was prescribed to help him sleep. But it causes emotional disturbances in people who are bipolar. And when he combines this with alcohol, he becomes a monster. When he's coming home at night, now drunk, and he takes that trazodone, it transforms him into someone that I do not recognize. The lights aren't on. Elvis is not in the building. And the man who I married is no longer with us. I don't know who this man is. I've never dealt with someone this dangerous. The abuse is escalating into horrendous places. It's almost as if it's a different personality, a multiple personality situation. If you've ever watched a movie, and I'm thinking about it, I don't know the name of the movie, but James McAvoy played a role where he had multiple personalities. And if you watch this movie, you watch him shift. This is what it was like to deal with my husband during this time when he combined trazodone and alcohol together. He could come home and be in a great mood and laughing and carrying on, but one little thing would go wrong. He can't find the remote, and his entire energy would shift. His eyes would go black. His face would go slack. His demeanor would shift. His presence would shift. His voice would change. And it was as if he was channeling a demon. It was as if he was possessed. I've never seen anything like this. This is terrifying to witness. And it happens in real time in front of you. They go from being cool, calm, and collected and just fine to now this rage. And it is terrifying to witness. And I'm now dealing with the situation where we live in a house. It's a 2-story house. The children are upstairs and we're downstairs. I'm dealing with the situation where any little thing can set him off. And I am having to just fawn my way into making sure that I don't disrupt him. And it doesn't matter what I do, something's going to disrupt him and he's going to erupt into this alternative version of himself, which is absolutely demonic. It's monstrous. And I'm now caught in a situation where that abuse he is in my face. He is calling me every single name in the book. He is telling me how worthless I am, how stupid I am, how much how much he regrets marrying me and just horrible, horrible things. He's now getting very physical with my surroundings, punching walls next to my face, pulling doors off of hinges. He's letting me know that if I don't do things his way, that it's going to be bad for me. And I'm really trying to build an income for myself. I'm trying to build a little business, and he does not like that. He doesn't want me doing anything that gives me any sort of autonomy over myself so that I can leave him. And so he is actively trying to shut down this business. This is a horrible idea, Liz. It's never going to go anywhere. You're a worthless entrepreneur. No one's ever going to take this seriously. You're never going to take this anywhere. I want you to shut it down. I don't like my kitchen dirty until 8 p.m. at night. I want my kitchen clean at 3 p.m. when I get home. This is not who I married. I didn't marry an entrepreneur. He is actively trying to get me to shut this business down And he doesn't want me doing anything that's going to give me a line of income to support myself. This is a form of control so that he can keep me right where he wants me. Also, when I was working for the 13 years that I was in a corporate job, he wouldn't allow me to have a retirement account. There was no need for me to have a retirement account because he had the retirement account. He wouldn't allow me to finish my degree because once I came home with the kids, there's no reason for me to have a degree. I'm at home. And so I don't have a degree. I don't have a retirement account. I don't have financial autonomy over myself to leave. Now, this little bakery, I was very, very busy. He thought it was a stupid idea, but what he didn't know is that this was giving me a little bit of financial freedom. The money that I was making from this bakery, I was putting in a separate account and I was investing it. And so it was growing in the background, which he did not know. The abuse has taken a toll on me and the children. The children are witnessing what's happening to me. It's really affecting their mental health. It's affecting all of our mental health. And my medical issues are coming back with a vengeance. I had gotten to a place where I could manage operating this bakery and I was working very hard. But with the ramping up of the abuse again, my symptoms are coming out of remission and I'm now almost fully bedridden. I'm getting around on a cane. On the days where the flare up with fibromyalgia, I'm very locked up in a tremendous amount of pain. I'm having to use a cane to get around. And so my mobility is severely affected. My mental health is severely affected. I am a mess. My kids are a mess. They're struggling in school. And, he is just out of his mind. There's definite damage, brain damage here. I fully believe that whatever happened in that coma, whatever happened, the man who came out of that medical coma is not the same man who went down. And there is significant brain damage to where he is unrecognizable. The people who love him and know him the most would never have recognized this version of him. That good man who showed up and did things for his neighbors, it was now performative. That didn't come naturally the way it used to. He was a monstrous version of himself. And the man that I fell in love with, the man who I knew he could be, was gone. We had a situation one night where he came home drunk and he's starting to take this trazodone early instead of late. And instead of going to bed when he takes trazodone, he's using it to get high, basically. And my son, who was 8 at the time, had his hair was getting kind of long. And he wanted to grow his hair out a little bit and have a little bit of a long hair moment. But his dad was not into it. And so he came home from work this day and he looks at our son and he goes, "I'm giving you a haircut." And he is intoxicated. And I am immediately like, "No, the freak you're not," over my dead body. And so I am standing in between him and my son. I've got my son backed against the refrigerator and he is angry. He's really angry at me. He's calling me every name in the book. He's yelling and he, physically pushes me out of the way, grabs our son, sticks him on the chair, takes out the clippers and proceeds to shave his head, violently shave his head to the point where he cut him. This is traumatic, not just to my child, but to me. And he's holding me back. I can't get to him. I'm physically trying to get my son out of this situation, and there's nothing I can do to get him to quit. And so he shaves his head. Now, my son looks adorable with any haircut, but this was a traumatic experience for him and a traumatic experience for me. And we send him to school the next day. He doesn't want to go to school, but I send him to school. And by 1 p.m., I get a phone call from the counselor. "We need you to come up to the school immediately. There's a situation with your son." Now, I don't know what to expect. he's had this traumatic event at home. My nervous system is just fried. I don't know what's coming next. I'm scared that, he had some issues with bullies at school. So I'm scared that maybe he got in a fight and that he's hurt. And so I go up to the school and I meet with the counselor, and she takes me into a conference room. And as I walk into this conference room, I notice that the campus cop is sitting in this room as well. And this cop, she's a female cop. She's beloved. They love her. The kids love her. She's at all of the events. She's always at morning drop off. She's a wonderful, wonderful human, wonderful personality, and she's adored within the community. And she's sitting there, but she's got a look on her face. And the energy, I can tell, like, something's up. And I sit down, and, the counselor she's a wonderful counselor, wonderful lady. She's always been an advocate for my son and sort of the issues that he's had in this school. And so I trust her. And she, starts with, we've had a situation where your son was looking up inappropriate things online. And my first thought went to, he's looking up like butts. I'm still not thinking that this is tied to what happened the night prior. And then she proceeds to tell me that he was looking up how to unalive himself on the school computer. When children at school use the school system to start searching issues like this, they go immediately into action. They respond very, very quickly. You're going to get called into that office, and you have to take your child to a psychiatrist immediately to get them checked out. And I'm being told that, you need to take him out of school and you need to go to the emergency room, the children's hospital emergency room. They have a psychiatrist on staff. He needs to sit down with a psychiatrist, and we need to find out how serious he is about this, about what he's looking up. And I'm still not getting it. I'm just going to be completely honest here. This is not going to make me look good. I'm not getting it. I'm like, why? I don't understand. Like, kids look stuff up all the time. He's in therapy. He's got a therapist. He was actively in child play therapy. And I'm like, we've got a therapist. I'll just take him to a therapy appointment. And they're like, no, you need to take him to the hospital immediately. And if you do not do that, we will file a report. This is serious. And you need to take it seriously. And at this point, the cop steps in and she starts interrogating me. What can you tell me about what's happening at home? We sat down with your son. We spoke to him. We asked him questions. He told us what happened last night. What is going on at home? And now, I'm just being honest. I start taking up for my husband. I'm still not getting it. It's not clocking for me. I'm still so stuck in the perception of who I know he can be that I refuse to accept the reality of what he's already become. And I start fawning. Oh, well, he's an alcoholic. And yes, he had a horrible accident and he got himself sober. He was sober for 5 months and he's relapsed, but we're handling it. We're in therapy. He's got a psychiatrist. He's taking his meds. We're on top of it. I am taking up for him. Over my son's mental health. This is how messed up in the brain this abuse will make you. This is how the brainwashing comes into play. I am taking up for my abusive husband who has just abused my child. And this cop, she ain't accepting what I'm putting down. She reaches over and she puts both hands on my arms and she grabs me and she looks me directly in the eyes. And she goes, in all my years of being a cop, I have seen this play out over and over again. If you do not make a move to protect yourself and your children, something is happening to you. You will not survive this. And let me be honest with you here. If something happens to one of your children because of his abuse and you've done nothing to protect them, you will be held responsible as a neglectful parent. It will be your fault. When I tell you that she yanked my soul out of my body, I would not be exaggerating. This immediately, it burst that bubble. Immediately, the veil was lifted. Immediately, I'm just like, that had never occurred to me. It had never occurred to me that I was enabling this. It had never occurred to me that I was also part of this problem. I thought that I was protecting our family. I thought that I was doing the right thing by protecting him and supporting him in his whatever you call it. You get so rooted in that perception and the fear of leaving. I know that I do need to leave, but I can't. I know that if I do leave, it's going to be dangerous. And so I'm rooted in this fear. I'm rooted in holding on to that perception. My head is in the sand and I don't want to see the writing on the wall. I don't want to see what's right in front of me and my children. My children are the most important thing in my life. And how could I allow this to happen? I take him to the ER. We see a psychiatrist. He's, we determine that therapy, he needs to stay in therapy. He's in play therapy during this time, and that therapy is a great place for him, and that we're going to continue to work on that. He's not in any danger. He had been bullied that day. The bullies were really bad that day. They were calling him all sorts of names for his new haircut. And so it was a mixture of that bullying plus the event that happened. But this cop saved me. I owe really my life for what she did for us. She changed that trajectory for me. And I went home and I started planning and finding a lawyer. I started doing what I needed to do in order to get out. A CPS report was filed, as it should have been. And a couple of months later, we get the results of this CPS report, and in black and white, next to his name, psychological and emotional abuse. He was found to be psychologically and emotionally abusive. And next to my name, in black and white, neglectful parent. And when I tell you that I fell to my knees, begging for forgiveness and guidance, my faith is really the only thing that I could grasp onto at the time. And I just prayed, please, God, guide me through this. I don't know how we're going to navigate this. I don't know how I'm going to leave. I don't know how this is going to happen, but please just guide me so that I do what's needed to be done to protect me and my kids. If you're currently stuck in this abusive cycle, you see the writing on the wall. You know that you need to leave, but you can't, and you're stuck. That fear grounds you, that brainwashing, the gaslighting, the manipulation, it keeps you in those cycles. For me, after every abusive moment that we would have, the gaslighting and brainwashing would immediately start, where he would turn the tables and make himself the victim and convince me that I was the problem. He had convinced me that I was a horrible wife, and me being a horrible wife was the reason why I was being abused. Me being a horrible wife was the reason why he drank, and that all of this was on my shoulders. This cop is an angel sent. That therapist, the counselor, is an angel sent. I owe an extreme amount of gratitude to those two individuals who were able to pull me out from underneath that veil and burst that bubble for me. I truly, truly thank you. If you ever watch this, I truly thank you for that. In the next episode, I'm going to walk through really what the divorce looked like and how difficult it kind of was to navigate and the issues that we faced. If you've been with me for this journey so far, thank you. I really appreciate your support. Like, subscribe, comment, send this to someone it can help. It's a hard road to navigate when you're a victim of this type of abuse. It's a hard pill to swallow when you realize that you're part of the problem. And having to sit with yourself and take accountability for that, it changes you. Now, I've spent the last 3 years of my life devoted to healing, therapy, and just trying to, regulate myself and work on myself so that I don't ever repeat these cycles again. And I'm very proud to say that my children and I are in a wonderful place now. We've found peace. We're finding success. They're living their best lives. They miss their father. He passes away eventually to this addiction, and there are days where we miss that version of him that we knew existed. But the monstrous side of him that comes after this last relapse is something that haunts us to this day. I still have nightmares. And so if you are struggling with this, please reach out for medical help. Please do what you have to do in order to protect yourself and your children. Please, if you're struggling with this addiction and you're a high-functioning addict and you're still able to work and you think you got yourself on lock and you think you have it under control, you don't. Please reach out to the necessary help so that what happens to my husband doesn't happen to you. We watched a good man. He was a good man. We watched him devolve into a monster. And I don't believe any of that would have happened had he just gotten sober. He made those choices. He had every avenue open to him. He made more than enough money to support his sobriety. He chose alcohol over everything. And it destroyed him. And it destroyed us. So if you're currently struggling with this addiction, I just pray that you find the strength to know that you deserve sobriety. You deserve to find out what you look like at your highest self. And you deserve to chase that. Again, my name's Elizabeth. Thank you for joining me. This is From Hell to Healed, and I will see you in the next episode.